Okay, now we're going to take a look at part 3 for drawing challenge 1. This is the page setup for model space presentation. Alright, you just need to print out the layout of the floor plan as you see here, together with all the annotations and your title block information. Remember that we're using a letter size portrait, and the scale is 1/4 inch to 1 foot. So, since we already covered part 1, the basic drawing setup, we've completed all our design development here. The one thing I'll ask you to double check is to make sure that 1, all the layer information that you want to show is available, it's turned on and thawed, and that you also have the correct annotation scale displayed. Alright, now what you're going to do, since we're going to present from the model space, is you can do this a number of ways. You can right click right over the tab for model and select page setup manager, or you can come up here to the ribbon and use output tab and take a look at your plot panel. Here you have all of the tools that you'll need for presentation, alright, for printing, that is. Page setup manager, keep in mind that there is the model space and there is the paper space, right? You have to have a separate page setup for each space, at least one, right? So since we're working in the model, you can see right here that we have no page setups. Down below, this would be like quick info to show you what the settings are for that particular page setup that you have selected. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new page setup. And the page setup that we're going to do is going to be a letter size PDF, right? So I'm going to give it that name. That way, I know what's going to be outputted, right? If I click OK here, now I can look at the page setup dialog box. What I want to start with is pick the device, right? The printer plotter right here. What I'm going to use is DWG to PDF. That's the printer. That's how we create those PDFs. Now once you make that change, right here you're going to see there's a ton of paper sizes, right? Now basically you have full bleed, and then you have expanded. Now the only differences here include the printable margin, and it also is limited by your device. So what I would say is if you're making a PDF, use the full bleed. And again, for our purposes in our class, we don't have the architectural A or the B. We are instead using the ANSI A or B. So choose the appropriate one. Here's the ANSI full bleed size A portrait. Once you have your paper selected, you want to specify the plot area. Now, some people have asked me, do I need to always define the drawing limits before I begin drawing? The answer is no. You don't have to, but it helps. It makes sense. If you're only printing from the model, if you've defined the drawing limits, you can select it right here, and that's what it'll plot. Now, you'll see here the dynamic preview window change according to the settings that you make right here in the dialog box. You'll also notice here the plot scale. Uncheck fit to paper, and then look over here and select the appropriate scale, right? You'll notice that this must match this one right here in order for those annotations to be displayed correctly, right? Now, also, you'll start to see here the printable area. Now look at this. If I hover over it, you can see even though it says full bleed, it's actually still smaller than the actual paper size. So take a look here at your orientation and then select center, right? So now it's just going to be evenly distributed because it's centered. Also, you'll see later on we'll be talking about plot style tables. Okay, I'll update your computers with the class standard, but for now just go ahead and use monochrome. Okay, apply it to all the other layouts and then check display plot styles. You'll see in a second what this looks like. So once you review all of these settings, it would make sense to preview. Okay? And this is what's important here. What you see here is what's going to come out on paper, or in this case, the digital PDF, right? So be careful here not to get too close to your margin, and you'll see if you did, right? It'll get clipped, it'll get cut off. Now, once you've completed the preview, you can right-click anywhere and exit. Now, what you've done so far is simply do the page setup. And I always recommend, whether you're working in the model or the paper, always do the page setup, right? Click OK, and you'll notice right now it's not set current. But you want to make sure it's selected, make it current, and then close. Now, you'll notice, right? See how it turned to black and white? That's because the plot styles are being displayed. Okay? Now, you would only use that option if you're using paper with model, because right now it's kind of hard. All the lines look the same, right? If you wanted to adjust this, go right back to Page Setup Manager, select the page setup. You can modify and remove display plot styles. Click OK to save those changes. All right? But look, so right now you can see the colors that you specified for your layers, but what is it going to look like when I print it? Well, you can still see the plot styles when you do preview. Okay? That's how it's going to output. Now, once you've created the page setup, you've previewed it, you've saved it, you can see I went for a second time to preview it, right? Just to double check. Now you can just go plot. And when you go plot, what you're doing is you're creating a PDF file. So this is where I would tell you, make sure you go to your personal folder, right, your flash drive, and be organized with your data here. Make sure you have folders for each module. Right now we're working in module 1, and this is Drawing Challenge 1, the simple floor plan. And you can see here I have PDF folder, DWG folder. I may have other folders here, and what I can do is just put in my drawing there. You should call it DC1, right? So you know what it is. I'm just going to call it test because it's just a sample, and save it. So this right here is your DWG, and this right here is the PDF. The PDF is what you're going to submit for review. I'll be using comments here, right? Oops. I'll be using comments here to be able to do markups, okay, or be able to show you what needs to be fixed, and I'll be able to email that back to you, and you'll be able to work on your DWG file to recreate a revised PDF. All right. So with that, I believe we've covered all 3 parts, and so we'll see you for the next one.